Are we going?
Yeah, it's all recording.
Oh, I'm nervous now.
But we can just start when we like. It's all right. Edbler.
Zach.
Although I said Ed Black all the time.
Yeah, which is my name.
It is.
So-
When did you change it?
When I started the edbl project,
When was that?
2019.
Straight into it. You see that? See that little segue there?
Nice.
We're in a podcast now, baby.
Am I famous yet? Episode 1.
Episode 1. I'm Zach. Hello.
I'm Edbler.
And we're
I
going
always
to...
feel weird saying that.
Edbler.
I'm not Edbler.
You are Edbler.
Am I? When I'm on stage, like it was the same last night. I had this acoustic gig last night, and I'm like, "Yo, guys, so this is Jay on vocals, woo, Finney on the con," and then I'm like, "And I'm Edbler."
Where'd you
And
get
it's
Edbler from, though? Is it just Ed and Black, and then you took off the ACK?
Bingo.
But then when you were like, "Oh yeah, Edbler," were you like, "That's oh yeah"?
What was it straight away? That it?
Yeah.
No, it was kind of. Basically, I stole it from my cousin. She
called Edbler.
No, but she's called Emily Black.
Okay.
And back in the day, it was either MSN or MySpace, I forget which, but her name was EMBL on that.
Embler.
And I thought, that's cool. And I stole it back then for my MySpace. So my MySpace was Edbler when I was like 12. So then, because I have an artist project as Ed Black, when it came to releasing different kind of music, I was like, well, I need a different name. And then that was just already kind of in the locker.
No, it's a good name, man. But I've always just said Ed Black, and I felt really bad. It's only been I remember when we were doing I was on tour with you.
Yes.
And I was supporting you,
Oh,
and then
doing
we
the
were trying to do the fucking intros.
Yeah.
And I just kept on saying Ed Black, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
Like that's it now.
Yeah.
But I've got into my head recently, Edbler.
That's good. Well, I'd rather Ed Black than Edible, which most people think it is. Including you, innit?
Yeah, I do think it was Edible.
Yeah.
But Edible's cool though.
It's all right. I've come to terms with it.
Edible's wicked.
I've come to terms with it. I think, at first I was like annoyed and then quickly like sort of realised that that's what it looks like to everyone.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, whatever. I don't really care.
Well, I like. I'm going to introduce you Edibler all the time. Edibler, edible. It's Edbler. Right. So this is the first podcast. This is the first podcast.
We need to do a blooper section.
We do need to do a blooper section. That'll go straight in. We've kind of written a couple of notes about what we want to talk about, but I guess just to intro the podcast, me and Ed talked about it a couple of months ago, and I don't know. I've always wanted to talk to someone like-minded, talk to someone who has been on a similar journey as me, and kind of go through the highs and lows of what it's like to be an artist. And I think you had the similar mindset, right? Like it's not always easy, and I haven't really. There's so much mist around it, especially in the industry, and especially from when I talk to friends who aren't in the music industry and like ask me how it is and blah blah blah. There's always a lot of mist around it. So I wanted to just have an honest conversation with loads of different artists. And about our journey and have like honest feedback around how we're struggling at the minute and where we're going with the music and what we see famous as. And so, am I famous yet?
Boom. That was amazing. I love that.
Was that a good intro?
I was like waiting for me to jump in, but then you just did the whole thing. It was sick.
Just kept on going.
Am I famous yet? No, man. Honestly, you've nailed it there. And I think one of my favorite words at the moment is serendipitous.
Ooh, I've heard it many times, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
So it means when something happens that it almost feels like, you'd be like, oh, I was kind of thinking about that anyway. And, like just good timing? I don't know the exact definition, but it's that sort of thing. There's been a lot of things recently that have happened that I've thought, oh, that's really serendipitous. And this is one of them because I used to have a radio show where similar-ish kind of vibe where I would have artists come on and I've always wanted to just be as open and honest about my experience as like an independent artist and how I've kind of navigated the world of streaming and things like that. And also been really interested in just like meeting people and talking to people as you are about anything. But if it's about music, even better.
Yeah, I hear that.
And so I've been thinking all year at some point I should turn it into a podcast because obviously that's what everyone does at the moment. People turn things into podcasts.
They do.
And then you just popped up one day and were like, I'm pretty sure you just said, should we do a podcast? I think it was just that.
I was on the train and I think I was with the wife. I think I was with Tanya. And I was like, I don't know why, but on the train I get
stuff happens.
Yeah, stuff happens. Like I'm looking out the window, I'm feeling inspired, I'm listening to some music, and I was just like, I'd really like a way of communicating what I do outside of releasing a track.
Yes.
That is everything around music and life and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, who could I do that with?
Yeah.
And then instantly you just popped up like in my mind. And I was like, that'd be fucking sick. Because number one, we get on.
Yeah.
Like we're pretty much like-minded, and we've known each other for years. So just jumping on to a platform to discuss that kind of like journey, I think is wicked. And also, I wanted to do it as kind of like a challenge, but also like a diary for myself.
Yes.
I like the idea of like in 30 years, even if I don't make it famous, whatever famous is, that's one of our questions. Even if I don't make it famous, I can look back and go, this is what I did. Oh, I was struggling then. And I get to show my kids or, I don't know, in 20 years about what did you do when you were younger and you were trying to make it as like a musician? I think that's really cool, man.
Yeah, that was part of how you sold it to me, actually. You weren't
I wasn't so much about that.
You weren't as humble. You were like, we should do it because then when we're famous in like 10, 20 years, we'll look back and it'll be like, oh, look at how we started out. Which I loved. I was like, okay, yeah.
Like what artist do you know that has like made it? Like Will Smith or something where you got to really understand and be like the journey of their process.
Be nuts, yeah. Well, yeah.
Although Will Smith, I guess we do because they had like an interview where.
Yeah, or people bring out books and stuff like that, but it's not as fun. With us, you get to follow us getting famous every month in real time. Yeah. Hashtag am I famous yet?
In real time. Hashtag am I famous yet? In real time. I think that's just wicked.
AIFY.
Am I
have a ring to it.
F.
AFI.
AFI.
Welcome episode 1 of AFI.
Are you on Twitter?
Yes, but I find myself using it less and less.
I'm so bad with social media, man. This is one of the reasons why I'm not famous yet.
Okay, interesting.
This is, I think, to jump. No, hold on.
No, that's good. Let's go with it.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's
run with it. All right, so.
Do you think in order to become famous, you have to have social media presence?
Yeah, I think so. I think if we go back to like artists like Bon Iver or some of the more introvert artists that were trying to speak their emotions through music, and that was their outlet. Yeah. But then didn't really want all the pictures and stuff. Yeah. Like, I don't think many artists would exist like that now. Like, unless you've got a platform to push your music like social media. Unless you've got social media to push it and say, this is what happened and I got this music at Friday and stuff.
Sorry, we'll edit out.
We'll cut. Yeah.
It's good for the bloopers.
Right, let me start again. Right, so ask the question again.
Do you think you have to have a social media presence in order to become famous?
I think so. Yeah. I think even if we look at some of the stories that are being present right now with artists trying to get a label deal and a label being like, you need 100,000 followers on Instagram to start off with. Yeah. I think that's a gate, but also if you look at Bon Iver or some of the more introvert artists back in the day, like Keaton Henson, like one of my favorite artists from when I was at uni. They didn't want all the fame. They didn't want the pictures. Well, I'm speaking on their behalf. Maybe they did, but I feel like they were doing it just for the music, and they were doing it to get their emotions and write something that felt good to them. Yeah, and trying to get something out from their head. And I just don't feel like they wouldn't want to post loads of stuff on social media and do a dance to their song. Yeah,
most people don't want to do that, right? Or most artists. Yeah, I think that I've come across and worked with, and not like. There's a few actually, interestingly, who are like really love it and
some of them, which is fair.
Like, I enjoy it, to be honest. I think it's good. It's a way for me, I just see it as another way to like grow as an artist and to share my music, and doing beat videos and stuff is like,
they're sick, to be fair.
Thank you, man. But I think like, because like there's no like, everything's so polished now in the sense of like, like back in the day you'd have like SoundCloud for like, and you just upload demos or YouTube, and YouTube was like, was huge. You'd upload a video and it would pop off. Whereas now, like, there's not really, I mean, SoundCloud obviously exists, but it's just nowhere near as like used or good, I don't think. So it's like, if you're going to put music out, it has to be this thing that's going to go on DSPs, so like Spotify, Apple Music. So then it's got to be mixed and mastered. And you're missing this whole like middle tier of like, I don't mean that in a bad way, but of like music and demos and ideas that would previously go on SoundCloud or YouTube or whatever. Yeah. And now they're just not. So for me, like, that's where I really enjoy social media, is because like I can make a beat and then straight away do a video and just put it up, and it's just like no pressure.
So right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're so right. You can just pop that up and it'll and it'll have a life in itself on that platform, and it doesn't need to go further than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think I think maybe I'm thinking about it in such like we need to do a dance to a song or a way of doing that, but there's other ways that you can do it that can use it. You don't need to copy everyone else's.
For sure.
You can use it creatively within your music.
Definitely.
I think you're right. I just think of like, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like what sad music is there about? Like Bon Iver, or like To Build a Home, or like Cinematic Orchestra and stuff that like maybe isn't pushed on social media as much.
Probably loads.
Phoebe Bridgers?
Yeah.
But she wasn't really present on social media either, was she?
Don't know.
I don't know. This is stuff we will find out for you.
Yeah.
This is when you get to tune into number 2.
Yeah.
And then we'll have all of these answers.
But I definitely think, it's interesting. We wrote down a list of some stuff to talk about, right? But I'd actually write socials. And I think that's probably going to be a recurring thing, isn't it? Because 100%. It's like, am I famous yet? Well, if I like suddenly go nuts on Instagram and have like 1 million followers,
that's fame,
am I famous yet?
Yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit, but that goes to our first question that we wrote down. Is what is fame to you?
Yeah, I actually just Googled the definition, by the way. I don't know if you know this.
Oh, nice one.
Just now, because I was like, what? I don't actually know what it means. The state of being known or talked about by many people, especially on account of notable achievements. That's pretty vague.
Yeah, many, because like what is
could be like a dozen.
60 people.
Yeah.
could
it's interesting.
Yeah.
So I think for that, and this is why I think this is going to be really fun, is just we'll constantly be talking about, that makes it sound grim, but I think why this is going to be a really fun podcast is defining fame. And I think that because that's such a vague description, I think it's going to be a subjective thing and
what it means to different artists. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what it means to different artists and how they feel like they'll reach that.
Exactly.
But it's when I think of fame, I guess I think of like the big artists or the people that I see on social media all the time that are with paparazzi around them. That,
exactly. In the newspapers and stuff.
In the newspapers, yeah. That's how I kind of... But I guess fame and success, are they hand in hand?
Tune into episode 2 to find out.
If someone reaches fame within their field, is that success? But then... if you're not famous within your field, but still you recognize that you have success. Yeah. Like if reaching 1 million like Spotify streams on your song. Yeah. Like that was a successful moment for me. Like I would count that as a really, really fucking sick, like wicked time in my career. Like I love that. That was wicked.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And to me, that was a successful part of the career. So then, but there's that didn't make me famous. But then to some people did say I was famous.
Yeah. And 1 million people have listened to your song. That's a lot of people who would know you.
Is it not down to the individual to figure out if they're famous or not, but is it in how I perceive you?
Yeah. Yeah, how you're perceived by others.
Yeah, maybe that's where fame is and not how you perceive yourself.
Probably, yeah. Because I can't imagine... Let's see, but like we're going to get different guests on every month and ask them if they're famous yet. And I'd be really interested if someone's just like,
I am.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's so true.
You're mad. You'd be like, oh, sick.
Well, are you famous?
What? Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say so, no.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't say
famous?
I'm famous. No, I wouldn't say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, right. Tune into episode 2.
But do you know what? This actually this ties on quite nicely into how we met, because I don't know if I've said this before. I probably have at some point, but I think I did maybe when you came on my show. But you are the first artist I worked with who I'd heard of before.
Oh, really?
Ever. Yeah.
Mate.
So, which is quite cool. So in my head, you were like a little bit famous. And because so I was in this like I started the edbl project, put some songs out with essentially friends, and then I did an instrumental tape, and then it was like, okay, I need to make some more songs, get in the room with some people, and stuff was sort of starting to build. And then my manager knew, I think your manager at the time, and was like, oh, I can probably hook up a session with Zach Said, and I was like, what? Zach Said, like Craven, like I know that guy, and like it was a song that I'd listened to and like referenced with my old mate when we were in a production duo. So like that's quite an interesting one, because I don't know if you necessarily felt famous at that point.
No.
Have you at any point?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess maybe there was a time when like things started popping up.
Yeah.
Like supporting Anderson .Paak or
Wow.
like in the same year we did Glastonbury as well, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I never had a sit down moment and thought, I'm famous now.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, which is interesting. I just thought I was just having really good fun with my mates.
Yeah.
And like I just thought I was really lucky and blessed to be able to have like the manager I did and the people that I knew, and I just thought it was a wicked journey. But I guess I wasn't thinking that much at the time, which is good.
But it's also good to hear a little bit now about how you sort of got started on that note.
Yeah, of course. So I guess it was maybe like 10 years ago. So I was at Middlesbrough University, so Teesside University in Middlesbrough.
Big up the north.
Big up the north. Big up Borough. And I was doing a lot of gigs around the area. And I was just addicted to playing gigs. Like I loved it. So I did a lot of open mics. I ran a couple of open mics as well. I played like late night sessions at a local bar and stuff. And I just loved it. I loved like jamming with the guitarist and then getting up and singing and having this. I just love it. I love it. And I still love it now. But particularly then I was addicted. So then I didn't go to a lot of my lectures, and instead I decided to gig. And then I remember James, who is my manager, still a close friend. James invited me to play at a show in a pub somewhere, and then he came to watch me.
In the northeast.
It was around Birmingham, actually. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm from Shrewsbury, and then he was from Birmingham.
Okay.
So it was like a pub close by, and I was playing a gig, and I invited him along. And then he came and he was like, yeah, man, that's sick. And then he got me a session in London with this dude called Jonas, and I wrote a song, and somehow that song got a little bit leaked to some of the labels. I say it was James, it was definitely you. But it was good, it was positive. A lot of the labels loved it, exactly. Yeah. And it kind of put me on this adventure path, which was wicked, and I got to meet likes of yourselves and other individuals and producers and writers and a lot of cool people, which was wicked.
Yeah.
But then kind of lockdown hit, and I wasn't really with the label anymore, and my mind was just in a different place. And and I guess I didn't write as much as I did, and I got a job, and I started thinking about other things, and I was like, oh, actually, maybe I can do this instead. And I love tech as well, so I was like, why not do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I kind of started. There was a long story about how I started.
That was good.
But then, I got to, it's been a cool journey, and slowly I'm getting back into it. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start off this podcast as well.
Yeah.
Is just, I wanted to have somewhere where I get to speak to yourself and a friend and just go, this is what I plan to do, this is what I want to do, and kind of hold myself accountable to the mainstream. Because now I can't go back. If I say I'm going to write a song and release it, that's it.
There you go. Heard it first.
Yeah. How did you get started then?
I went to music uni in Liverpool.
Mm-hmm. Big up Liverpool.
Lipper, yeah. Big up the North once again. Best place on earth. And
did Lipper have an acting side as well?
Yeah. So
I tried to get in there, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I tried to get in there.
I didn't know you were a budding young actor.
I tried.
Yeah.
I wasn't that good.
Okay.
That's why I didn't get into Lipper.
Yeah, fair enough. Acting, dancing, sound, lighting. Basically, their whole vibe is that you have everyone there in order to do like a full kind of theatre show. You'd have everyone you'd need, sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, just had the most amazing time, and played for loads of artists, started a band, had a singer-songwriter project, was just super busy just doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah. I think the main thing that kind of I started doing whilst I was there is I became really good friends with an amazing artist called Addy Suleiman.
Big up Addy.
And we were talking about SoundCloud before, weren't we? And he basically kind of recorded a couple of demos and put them on SoundCloud and then a couple of videos on YouTube, and it kind of went like semi-viral or whatever.
But viral for the time on YouTube, right?
Yeah, surely? I think so, yeah. And it was like, well, it drummed up like a load of industry interest, and basically, long story short, he got signed the year that we graduated, and I was able to kind of go into straight out of uni, went into playing for him full time.
Sick,
which
man.
was an amazing position to be in. Yeah, just like, so nuts. And I think something that we'll talk about a lot is balancing being a musician / artist and getting paid and needing a day job, part-time job and things like that. And at that time I didn't need to do anything else, which was an amazing position to be in. And I don't think I necessarily appreciated it that much, to be honest, because I hadn't worked in ages, really. I had like a part-time job at Sainsbury's, but like, I was out of uni, and then he was like, oh, do you want some money to like play guitar for me? And I was like, yeah, sweet. So anyways, we did that for a few years, and that was amazing. And then, kind of moved down to London.
Did you feel famous then? Sorry to cut you off.
I felt like, that's a good question. I felt like Addy was famous, or very, at least on his way to fame.
Gotcha.
For sure, because it was like, kind of record deal. That was like the one thing in my head.
You were like touring and doing the festival scene as well.
Yeah,
because I listened to Addy. Like I listened to you guys when during uni times and stuff. So to me, you guys are famous.
That's very kind. I think he's famous, maybe.
To me, Addy was famous.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually saw him this morning. I told him about this, and I said we should get him on. He said he'd be up for it. Yeah, so that would be a really good one to do.
I think also it's really hard for an artist to come on and say, so even during that time when I was signed and I was doing those gigs and stuff, like maybe I thought I was a little bit famous.
Yeah.
But for someone to come onto a podcast and admit that they think they were famous.
Yeah.
Do you think there's like a negative? If I hear someone say, oh I'm famous, I'll be like, no.
Yeah, it sounds a bit arrogant almost, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I think.
But why?
I think we need to. Yeah, but why? I think we need to be honest.
They're known. That's cool. That's a good thing.
Like if someone says, "Oh no, I'm a celebrity," but I feel like fame is so people want it.
Yeah,
like it's really sought after. But what? Yeah, again. What is fame?
What is that? And are we it yet?
So hopefully,
find out in episode 3.
Just pushing always forward.
I'm just hopefully through the episodes here.
we can have these artists on, and have it would be great to have Addy on and just kind of discuss like, oh, do you think you're famous?
Yeah, we'll sort it out. That'd be great.
And what is the peak of fame?
Yeah, is there a peak?
Is there a peak of fame? So who would you class? Who is famous in your eyes?
I'm trying to think of like people who aren't like massive.
Yeah,
because we would all say that like
Frank Ocean
is famous.
Yeah. Like UK artists.
Jordan Rakai?
I would say Jordan Rakai is famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say he's famous.
Because I'm trying to think like, I mean, not necessarily, some people have like personas and stuff, right? But like, I think part of it in my mind is just like not being able to like walk down the streets and go to the shop.
Yeah.
And I think Jordan, I have no idea what Jordan's life is like, but I think he probably could and probably does. But I think quite a few people go, oh, it's Jordan Rakai.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think that would be because I know his drummer.
Yeah.
It was for like a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
And when like Jordan was at like a pub and I was going to the pub, in my mind I was excited. I was like, oh my God, Jordan Rakai.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people were going up to him and saying hi. So to me, that's fame.
Yeah, yeah. Also on that note, have you ever been recognised? Has someone recognised you, as Zach said, as the artist?
Only a couple of times. But it's obviously it's cool when it happens. Like,
when was that? Tell me about it.
I remember.
He's like, oh, I can't remember. He remembers every moment of it.
I do. And I just text Ed right now, actually, being like, ask if I've ever been a
yeah, that's why I got my phone here.
The coolest one, I have to say, was when. So I worked at Apple for 7 years.
Right.
And I got a job now. That's where we're actually recording this podcast.
Yeah.
But during the time of coming through, releasing and dealing with the label and stuff, I had to pay rent. So I worked at Apple a couple of days a week, and I loved it. Like it was wicked.
Yeah.
And but I had a couple of customers come in, and then they'll be like, "Is that Zach?" So that was cool because I was around friends. And then,
yeah.
But so sometimes in the street I walk down and be like, "Oh, you Zach's Head," and I love your music, by the way.
That's class.
Which is really nice, man.
Yeah,
which is cool.
And again, I just not to like drive the fame thing home.
But I definitely feel famous when that happens.
Yeah, and I wonder if your colleagues at Apple were like, "Oh, he's recognised. Maybe he's like a bit famous." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we had someone to work there also that was I think she was influencer vibes.
Yeah.
She was great, man. She was wicked, but she was more famous than what I would class as myself as being famous.
Yeah.
And she used to have loads of people come in and like get autographs and stuff. And I think it got to a point where she couldn't work at Apple anymore. Yeah. And I always told myself that, I would, like, whenever someone asked, I was like, oh, Zach, why are you still working at Apple? Why don't you do music and stuff? Just because, I want to get fired from Apple because I'm too famous.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
nice.
That was my aim. I never got there, but that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
So back to the famous thing, and I think she felt famous because I think she told me, and I felt famous in those small, like when someone came in and said, "Oh, Zach said," but so maybe it's moments of feeling fame.
Yeah, maybe it's probably not a continuous thing.
Yeah, maybe not,
unless you're like like I say,
Frank Ocean,
One Direction, Shania Twain.
Yeah. So have you ever got? Well, you did already. So
yeah, that's nuts though. That is nuts.
Ed walked, but you don't know. So whenever I mention you to friends, people know of your music. You're on all the Spotify playlists.
Spotify has been very kind to me,
which is wicked.
Spotify. Thank you, Spotify gods.
Gods, yeah. Thank you, Spotify gods. Please pay us more.
Yeah, but also it's fine if you don't.
It's fine if you don't. Just put us on playlists. Thank you so much. Thank you. All beats Spotify.
Yeah. The fact that the people who work here knew me is pretty nuts. I think.
How does that make you? It makes you feel good, right?
Yeah, it's a nice thing.
It's a nice
to be
thing.
like, because it's like I don't really know exactly why it's nice, but I suppose it's like, I guess in a way, subconsciously it's like you're getting recognized for something that you love doing and are really proud of.
It's exactly that. I see it as a two-way street. I see it as that. I see it as I've done something that captures the attention of someone and really speaks to someone, which is wicked. And they listen to it alone.
Yeah, man.
Like they listen to it like on the train, like in there, just them.
Yeah.
And it's so personal in that way.
Yeah.
And which is so wicked. And the other side of it obviously just strokes the ego a little bit and it makes you feel a little bit cool. Yeah, and I always try to forget that bit.
Yeah.
But it's hard to, man.
Yeah.
It's really it's hard.
Yeah. It's a weird one, like, how to react for one to it. So it's happened in my memory. It's happened like twice. Once was in Brixton, which was pretty cool, just walking to the tube. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I love your music. Although to be fair, he didn't necessarily know I was edbl, so he might have confused me with someone else. But I think they did. But and then it's after that, and I was with Bobby, my wife, and I never really know how to react. So I always make a joke out of it and just go like, oh God. Yeah. Just trying to have some peace and quiet, you know. That's pretty much always my reaction.
And then she's like, oh, shut up.
Yeah, she's like,
the wives don't care.
No.
The wives
they
don't
hate
care.
it. No, they don't hate it, but yeah. And but the other one is actually quite embarrassing. Was I was in what do you call it, Box Park, Shoreditch, and I had an edbl t-shirt on.
Oh, dude, you had your own.
I know, because it's like, I think maybe I shouldn't have been wearing it in Shoreditch or whatever, but it's like, mate,
it's your t-shirt.
You make something. It had my name on it. It had the first song, one of the first songs put out on the back.
You should be proud of that, man.
Yeah, and I was like, this is a cool t-shirt. Like, I made it so it looked cool and like something I would wear. And then they got printed, and I was like, well, I'm going to keep one for myself and then sell the rest. So I kept one, and then obviously just decided to wear it to Shoreditch that day. And basically someone came over because they recognized the art on the back and was like, yo, man, I love that tune. It was just the way things were with Isaac. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. And turned around and he was like, oh, it's you. And then I felt like really embarrassed that I was just like wearing my own. T-shirt. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's me. Yeah.
Do you listen to your own music?
Not often, I wouldn't say. Do you?
Yeah. Well, but not ones that I've released.
Right. Sorry. Yeah. That's a big.
But like upcoming tracks, because I like to visualize it.
Yeah.
And I like to visualize it maybe on stage, or I always like to go, oh, this is the first time that I'll listen to it. How would someone react to it?
Yeah.
And I try and like go along with seconds and go, okay, this bit could be better. I think I listen to 5 a.m. because I just love that track.
That's sick, man.
Yeah, I just love it. Yeah. Like, it's my favorite track, and although it might not be everyone's favorite, it's my favorite, and I love it. Yeah. And also, like, I wrote a track and I produced the track to what I like. You know what I mean? So when we produce, we go, we like that snare. Ooh, that bass line's cool. Oh, actually, this melody would be cool. I like that lyric. I like it's all things that we like. So why wouldn't we listen to the track if it's literally perfect to us, because we like everything that went into it?
Yeah, totally. It's like if like AI made something that they thought you'd love. It'd be that.
Yeah. And but listening to, so I don't listen. Yeah. Sometimes I'll have like a train journey where I'd be like, oh, let's listen to me, but more to like try and see how other people listen to my music. So I can go, cool, actually, oh, maybe I'll write a song like that. That really worked. That felt natural. That feels good.
Interesting.
So I can put that into the rest of my music moving forward.
Yeah. It's almost using it as like inspiration.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think it's, I like to novelists read their books and go, I could have done that better, or do they just move on to the next one? Probably not, because a book is long, and my songs are only like 1 minute.
And there's a lot of actors who are like, oh, I've never seen, famous actors who are like, oh, I've never watched myself in anything and stuff like that. It's a bit weird. But
well, would you listen to this podcast back?
I think so, actually, yeah.
See, I don't think I would.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I'd overthink what I'm saying.
Yeah, true. Just need to make sure it's like any good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's true. Maybe I'll listen to your parts and you listen to my parts.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But no, with the music thing, I think, like, obviously, the most exciting thing, or one of, I'd say, of making music, and one of the most exciting points of making music is when you've just finished a 6 session and you've got to bounce. So this is just like an MP3 file. It's quite rough of what you've written that day, and it's so fresh in your head. And like those... Man, I'm so grateful Google Drive doesn't have play counts, because when I've like when I made an MP3 version of like something that I fucked with that day,
mate, me too, man. As soon as I leave your house,
it's almost to the point where I'm like, I hate this now. Because I've listened to it so much.
Because I have to stop myself. So as soon as I leave your house, like I'll be like, I'm going to listen to this now.
Yeah.
And it's the first time that maybe I properly listen to it in an honest way.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because when we're listening to it, like I don't want to say like this is or this is my favorite bit and blah blah blah. Maybe we should do this. But it's like an honest kind of walk to the station in fresh air
with headphones as well, not in like a studio.
Really
on monitors.
Exciting, like from the day that we just had. But I know what you mean. But I have to stop myself. So I try and listen to it a couple of times and listen to something else. Yeah. Then I'd listen to it maybe once before I go to bed, or a couple of times. Yeah. Or play it Tanya when I get home. No. And then in the morning, that's the one I'm really excited to listen to. Yes. Because of fresh ears.
And that's one that's more telling, I think, as well, because then you'll be like, you'll have more of a sense of if it's good or bad.
Depending on how much weed or how much we've drunk.
Yeah, basically. But even without that, I've had sessions before where like, it's weird, like if you work on something and or hear something on repeat so much, which you do a lot in sessions in the day, you do lose, or I lose a little bit of sight of like what's right or wrong or good or bad for the 100%. Song. And so for the most part, it ends up good, and you listen to it the next morning, you go, or you go, there's something here, maybe this needs changing. You know, you have that perspective. Every now and then, though, I listen to it and be like, oh, this actually like isn't that great? But that's fine as well. But it's very hard to do that in the moment. For me, anyway, / on the day itself, because it's so just like there. Yeah,
mate. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. All right.
How are we doing on the checklist?
To be fair, I don't think we've covered any of it.
Nice. I don't know when we started either.
I don't know when we started. It's just been a really good conversation, to be fair.
Yeah, it's been good, man. It's been natural.
This is exactly what we wanted.
Exactly.
I think the plan for the future is to get other artists on, really delve into how they balance kind of fame, if they do see themselves as famous. Yeah. Kind of how they balance work around that, if they need to support them releasing music, how that looks, how they feel about it. Do they want to do it? Do they ever second guess it? Yeah. Do you ever second guess it?
Nah.
No, me neither. Yeah. Oh, no, I do. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You just lied then.
Yeah, I just lied. Yeah, no, completely lied. I do. I second guess it. I go, am I good enough? Oh. But then the next day, I'm like, oh no, I'm a god. Yeah.
The highs and lows of Zach said, ladies and gentlemen.
It's very bipolar.
Yeah.
It's very bipolar. Like some days I'm like, no, I can't do that. And then I'll get in the studio and then I'd like come up with a beat and I'm like, oh my God. And I get really excited again. But I think you need to have that yin and yang, for me anyway. Like I need to have that struggle to then be able to love it again.
Yeah, man. And I think sometimes it's like, I often see, I mean, I love gigging as well as you, like you were saying before, like it's probably my favorite thing to do. Or it's up there. And I often see like putting songs out and doing shows, and even to an extent, people maybe recognizing on the street, which doesn't happen often. Yeah. I see all that as like fuel for an artist, because you can go, if you go a long, long time, and I've seen this happen with a lot of artists, if you go a long time without releasing anything, without doing any shows, you're not really connecting with fans. You may be doing some stuff on socials, but like it's not a very connecting-y world.
I know what you mean.
It's just, everyone's just on Instagram doing whatever all the time. So you need to, for me anyway, I find it, I see it as fuel. I think you need to do like, that's why releasing regularly is so important. Not just for like the algorithm and stuff, but just for yourself, you know?
I think you're right, man.
Go on.
I haven't released music since maybe it's like a year and a half, 2 years now.
Right.
At the start of like last year. And I kind of feel that like, when you release a song, you get that excitement, regardless of where it goes.
Yeah.
You get that excitement, and I achieved this. Like I did something. Like I brought people together, and I pushed for something that I loved, and that's wicked. Yeah. And that fuels the next thing.
Exactly.
And that little play or that little message that says, "I love this track,"
or this track helped me through a difficult time.
Yeah, man. Like that's can't beat that. Can't beat that, man. That's amazing. And you're right. It's fuel, and I think that's why this podcast is going to become really important to me anyway, is to be able to have this conversation and go, this is how I feel about music right now.
Yeah.
With a musician, with someone who's in the same headspace as me. And Tanya's had enough of me talking about it. Tanya's sick of it. Like, so I'm like, oh, should I do music? She's like, Zach, I don't care.
Start a podcast or something. I don't know.
And for people who do know me out there, you know, if there's any, I want them to follow the struggle as well, and kind of, or follow the highs and the lows, and I think that's really cool, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, same, man. Same, super excited, and I think like again to come back to like socials a little bit is like everyone always says that it's very much a highlights reel, right? It's like your best bits, and you know if you're it's all positive stuff. So there's not, you rarely sort of go on Instagram, upload a reel of you being like, oh, I actually just felt really like uninspired and unmotivated today, which happens all the time.
All the time. And that's 90%
everyone in
of
every
the time.
Career. Yeah. And I feel 100%. Like there's almost like, I don't know, man. I feel like this is why I think sometimes having another job, not to like jump around too much, having a job or some sort of something in your life outside of music that's regular, let's say, can be super beneficial and super important, because otherwise I think there's just this like unspoken like onus or like unspoken thing that like you have to always be like motivated and excited to make music, and it's amazing to be able to be in a position to make music like for a job and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean that every morning you wake up and go like, I cannot wait to fire up Ableton today.
Your work ethic is really good in that though.
Thank you, man.
Like it's hard to have that consistency in that work ethic. So that's from an outside looking in, that's fucking wicked, man.
Thanks, bro.
Because I know you work hard. So that's
Thank you, man. Yeah, I think for me, a massive part of that is living with someone who essentially has a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And
so you have that space as well.
Yeah, and I've just kind of adapted to her hours. This is Bobby, my wife. I'll get up with her. Yeah. I'll make sure I'm finished when she gets back. Weekends, like now I'm not doing so many kind of covers gigs. I have a couple of days where I'm just not doing music at all, which is really important. So it's really good to have the balance, man. Mate,
100%. I think me having this, like, because I work 9 till 3 at this job now. So I run tech for a company, which I love. Like I love it. And I love having that as so black and white. This computer works or it doesn't work. Then being able to go home afterwards and create something that isn't always right, but I think is maybe, or I'm just feeling a vibe, and that's not black and white. And to kind of have that contrast between those two things within one day, I really like, because this job gets me up in the morning, says you need to be at this place for this time, you know what I mean? And for me, if I didn't have that structure, sometimes I can't be structured within that creative process, which I need as well.
Totally.
So this fuels me, which is really good. And that's why it'll be interesting to hear from other artists to see how they fuel themselves too, and what kind of structure they have around their creative process to make the best music that they can.
100%, man. Yeah. And I think that's what I've always found really refreshing about yourself as well, is it was the same at Apple. You were just like, so I do this other job, but I love it. Yeah. I love it as well.
I do.
And that was like, wow. Because like, again, like most artists I know have another job, they're like, oh yeah, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Whereas you were like, you know what? I need to do this, like financially, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I actually get a lot of joy out of it, as well as music. Yeah. And I think that's sick, man.
Thank you, man. I'm fucking lucky, man. I'm so lucky. Like, I know there's people out there that maybe haven't even found like one thing that they want to do.
Right.
And I just feel blessed that like I've, had the opportunities that I've had, and had the support network that I've had, and had the family that I've had to be able to be in a situation where I love to like them both, which is really
music
sick,
and weed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. PlayStation and Tanya. Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Mate, I think that's a wicked place to end episode 1.
Yeah, we must have missed a flip load of stuff, but no, I think so too. I also think
I'll read through the list.
Yeah,
I'll read through the list. All right, so we're gonna figure out like the best way of formulating this kind of like podcast and the best way of moving it forwards and when to have the guests. But we kind of wanted to, in the same breath of us trying to figure out music, we wanted to also try and figure out this podcast. So why not be honest about the podcast and then be honest about our music? So, we're finding our feet with the podcast. So join us on this journey. If you've got any comments around what we should do, what questions we should ask, if you've got any questions for us, let us know. We'll talk about it maybe like every month.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to force Ed to do it every 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, you said every 2 weeks, right? Well, I was actually thinking just off the back of this last half an hour or whatever hour, because I've really enjoyed it. I think we should do it regularly without guests as well.
You're right.
Either we should chat a bit before the guests come on or after them, because I think it's going to be really interesting, talking to guests about their perspective on fame and how they got to where they are and what they got coming up, etc. But I think it's going to be also interesting to like check in with each other on like
You're right,
where we're up to with our journeys.
Yeah, 100%.
So we should figure that out, because I think
right. Let me read off that. 100% agreed. All right. So, how are we making money? Full time, part time? So you're full time music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I got this job and then I do gigs in the evening. So, and then how do you balance a job and being a musician? Do we kind of touch on that?
Yeah, we touched on that. That'll be a recurring thing.
How we release music, we kind of touched that. Yeah, a little bit.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that. I think most of this stuff, like we've done do you want to be famous? Yes, I want to be famous.
Yeah.
Like, do I want to be famous? Do you want to be famous?
I don't know. I want to be, well, we said this before, or did I say it on the show? I can't even remember now.
Yeah.
But I said I would like to be more known and have a bit more money.
Yeah.
So
basically, yeah.
If we're going off the known thing, that is fame. So
I want to be able to like play a gig, like a big gig, where people are singing the songs that I wrote. Like, that's wicked, right?
I want to be able to put a gig on and not have to like do a video to promote it every week. Honestly, man, I'm so envious of people who post a gig and it sells out.
Actually, you're right. You're right. I want to be able to be like Frank Ocean and not post anything on social media and then release something that'll just do well.
Fair.
Like that's So yes, I want to be famous, just so I don't need to do.
We're absolutely
everything
dying
else.
to be
famous. What do we find as being famous? Yeah, we've done that. What's it like to be famous? I don't know. That's what we're going to be asking people. Mm-hmm. And then I put plan for the podcast.
Nice.
I think that was on my to-do list before.
That felt like that was like should have been the title or something.
I think I put that at the bottom.
Mate, one thing we have missed out though, which I do want to do because I worked on it this morning.
Oh shit! So I was really hoping you wouldn't say it because I didn't do mine.
I think we can make that's part of it though.
Okay, all right.
As we're figuring it out, Zach's figuring out his schedule because basically one idea I had for the first episode, because we're both musicians.
Out my schedule. You're just being nice to me. I've just been like fucking forgot and didn't organize my life well enough. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. One idea I had, because we're both musicians and producers, was for us both to come up with a theme song for this.
I'm actually really excited to hear yours.
Oh, thank you, man.
And I did this on purpose, so you can play yours first, and then I know what to beat.
Oh, okay. Or this is just it. You hear it and you go, you know what?
That's the one. Yeah. That's the one. I doubt it.
So I doubt it. So what I did actually, because I quite like sometimes, not to get too into the production nerd world, but I quite like restricting myself sometimes when it comes to like making music or producing. So like maybe just doing everything on one instrument or using one sample pack, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So what I did for this was I used Splice, which for anyone who doesn't know is kind of like you pay monthly and it's a database of samples.
Loads of stuff on there.
Yeah, so loads of loops, drum sounds, keys loops, whatever. There's loads of stuff. I typed in famous, and every sound I used on this is something that has the word famous.
Edge is such a fucking legend
in the title. So, but like, it's just like people who said like famous kick. It's just a kick drum. Famous snare. Like they've used that to make it sound class.
I might do the same, to be fair.
Do it.
I was gonna do it with just my vocals.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
and like record and do like the clapping and a boom boom.
Yeah. Because you like the sort of more like
I like the
percussion-y
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
You should do that.
All right, hit me. We'll play it through the mic so I can hit, and then we'll actually play. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. And so I found the main thing of it. I mean, maybe I should just play it, but like the main thing of it is this horrible like. Some of the vocal stuff on Splice is pretty grim, that sort of vibe.
I can't wait.
Here we go. Can I just say, by the way, that was really close to what you just did. You just went, and this went. Right, here we go. Right, come on. Stop messing around. Right, I've got to run it back.
Man, it was going to be way better than mine. Fuck.
And the bird,
you got like a pad in the background. It's just keeping like.
It's all just samples of like there's one keys thing that's like called Famous Keys that I've just pitched up and down.
So the one vocal that's running throughout, is that one, or did you split?
Yeah,
split
that's
that
just one vocal, and I just put an effect on it to make it sound choppy.
So you just use samples then?
Yeah.
For the main vocal line, you just use the sample.
Yeah, it's all.
You didn't even cut it out. Bloody hell, Ed.
Well,
I didn't do mine.
No. Is that bad or good?
No, mate, it sounds sick.
Oh, right, thank you. Yeah, no, I used an effect on Ableton that makes it go like.
Oh, so you did, yeah. So you did. Okay, all right, yeah. Mate, it sounds wicked.
Thanks, man.
Now I know what to beat, though.
There you go. Tune into episode 2 to find out.
Tune into motherfucking episode 2. edbl. edbl, Zach said, here on Am I Famous Yet? As I said, we'll be getting more acts on, more artists, maybe not even in the music industry, maybe some of
That'd be
people
cool.
too.
I think we discussed that, yeah.
Just talking about what fame is, why we want to be there, how we get there, and cool, see you in a bit.
I love it. I love how you've taken on the role as like intro and outro.
I don't know what I did.
It's great. The intro was sick.
Yeah?
All right, are we canning it?
Yeah, we can cut it now, yeah.